Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I am John Ledyard from pewterreport.com, and with me is Scott Reynolds, also of pewterreport.com. And we're ready. We're ready to turn the page on that awful 9-0 loss to the Saints, Scott. We're ready to put it in the rearview mirror. We're not going to talk about it. In fact, if you hear us mention the Saints loss in any detail on today's show,
then we will give you a super chat.
I was going to say, we'll give you a super chat. I don't know how that works. we'll do our best to give you a super chat. But we are turning the page, Scott.
We're going to send you rubles in the mail. That's how we're going to do it.
There we go. Rubles. I love it. Good choice.
Like
Bucs Panthers is coming up this week, Scott. And oh my goodness, do the Bucs need a win? They need to get back on the right track. It wasn't just a loss to the Saints. It was a demoralizing one, right? It was you lose players due to injury, serious players who really matter for your franchise.
Yeah.
They need this one. They need to be able to bounce back in this game. There'll be a lot of moving pieces. There could be some good things in the injury report. There could be some bad things. We're going to talk about all of it on today's show. We've got a ton of injury stuff to talk about. Bruce Arians' comments on Ryan Suckup, who's going to replace him, thoughts on what we are going to talk a little bit about. What's that?
Le'Veon Bell in Tampa.
Le'Veon Bell in Tampa. Yeah, totally forgot about that. We'll talk a little bit about what it'll look like moving forward at the skill position receiver positions, especially receiver, answer some questions. And we are going to preview the Panthers today. We'll get to some of that too. There's just
going to be a loaded show, folks. It is a loaded show today. So be glad that you're listening and viewing today rather than tomorrow, because we're not going to do a show tomorrow because we're going to be taking a little bit of time off. We are going to have full wall-to-wall Bucs content on pewterreport.com, thanks to our great friends at Celsius.
Yep. And so make sure you got one of these today. If you got a Celsius, grab it, drink it with us, because we're about to breeze through a lot of content on this show, and you're going to need this Celsius to focus in.
These are
active lives every day with essential functional energy. And you can see, Scott, those look empty to me.
Yeah, they are. I had two of these today. Two.
You
not because they don't work, because I had a wicked hangover this morning.
Oh, did you?
So, went out last night with
I was going to say it's Wednesday, Scott.
Well, I mean, listen, she's a teacher. She's off on winter break.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Every night's a Friday or Saturday, for the next couple of weeks. But thing is, let's see. This one helped me get over the hangover. This one energized me for today's podcast. So it's rare that I need two. But boy, two will do the trick, and I'll be up till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
There you go. You seem a little energetic and ready to go for today's show.
Let's go. Yeah.
If people are interested, you can check out the banners at pewterreport.com. You can check out the Celsius banners there, or go to Celsius.com and find the store locator to see where they sell Celsius near you. It is terrific stuff. The best energy drink out there. Amazing taste, lots of variety and flavors, and a lot of the bad stuff that's in other energy drinks, not in Celsius. And so you're getting the health benefit from it as well. So make sure you check those out. Celsius.com. Use the Amazon subscribe and save option to get those coming to you with regularity as well. All right, Scott, let's get to the injuries first. Okay. So we know about Chris Godwin. I think we didn't cover Pat O'Connor on Monday's podcast because we didn't know yet, but it sounded like first the report was that Pat O'Connor is going to be out for the rest of the year. Then I don't even remember who's reporting what. I'm sorry at this point. I should have, but somebody came back and then said Pat O'Connor's not out for the full year. I think it was Greg Allman said he could come back for the playoffs. He's out for he's on uninjured reserve. So he and Chris Godwin got put on injured reserve. Godwin's done. Pat O'Connor's done for the regular season. Could be back for the playoffs. Mike Evans, we're still not sure about. He could play this week. He might return the week after. He probably will play again in the regular season. We just don't know when yet. So we'll keep monitoring that one and see. Leonard Fournette and Lavonte David both seem to be in the same boat right now. Arians said today he's not sure if either are going to go to injured reserve or not. The team has moved players to injured reserve and hasn't moved either of them to injured reserve. They probably both will not play this week for sure. It sounds like that would be a surprise for both of them.
Yeah.
David has a foot sprain. Fournette has a hand.
Bruce Arians. Okay, I'm not the quarterback whisperer. I'm the Pewter Report whisperer. But I'm going to say that Lavonte David and Leonard Fournette are not going to play.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come out and say it.
Here's my guess. If they win against the Panthers and win against the Jets, because they're probably will, it depends what there is to play for, but they probably will not play the final week of the season either.
Mike Evans will play.
If something happens,
Mike Evans will play. He wants 101 yards.
Sure. Yeah. I'm talking about Fournette and David. This is my prognosis for them. They will probably not play those two games, my guess. And then I won't be surprised if they don't put them on injured reserve, just in case they needed for whatever reason to win that week. So just the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So maybe if they win this week, then they couldn't do it either because they missed the first round of the playoffs. So I think they'll just carry them injured the next couple weeks. They obviously have enough roster spots. I think there's 4 spots available now. So they should be okay in terms of roster spots and moving players up now. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's my guess. So you're likely looking at a Panthers game without Leonard Fournette, without Levante David. We'll talk about what that means on today's show. But it seems like some good news on the other side of the ball. Of course, just as the defense is about to get fully healthy, except for Levante, now the other side of the ball gets destroyed. So the offense gets wrecked. The defense looks like they're going to get Jamel Dean back. He was a full participant today. Arian says he's totally fine now. So whatever illness, Arian said it might have been residual from the concussion. They're not sure, but he and then Antoine Winfield Jr. did not practice today. Arians did say on Bucs Total Access he was pretty hopeful they'd both be back this week. So we'll just kind of see with Winfield. He said his foot was still sore today. Yeah. So we'll just see what he does Thursday and Friday. Could be the first time we've seen the Bucs full secondary take a snap together this season, Scott. We don't know yet, but be a nice time to get him back against one of the worst passing offenses in the NFL.
Yes, no doubt about it. I think that the biggest thing that I'm taking away from the injuries here is that the backups, because we talked a lot about the backups and how they did not perform well in that game. They really got to step up.
Wide receiver, wide receiver,
and wide receiver, and also in running back too. I mean, this is Ronald Jones' big game. This is the chance for him, as Matt Matera pointed out in his article the other day on PeterReport.com. The tables have turned, right? I mean, this is Rojo's opportunity now to come in and kind of play Leonard Fournette from a year ago and to take hold of that ground game, that starting running back job. And I think the shortcomings of Ronald Jones in the passing game, and also too of Keyshawn Vaughn. You heard Bruce Arians come out on Total Access and say that Vaughn's a good runner, but he really is falling short in the passing game. He was in there in the second half of the game when Fournette was out because of his pass protection skills. But John, as you pointed out in your Bucs briefing column, which honestly, probably your best one since you've been here. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you have not read John's Bucs briefing, make sure that you do so today. It is without a doubt gold. Maybe even platinum.
I appreciate it.
Maybe even adamantium. I'll just say that.
I don't even know what that is, but I appreciate
it.
It's
like Wolverine's claws. It's like
unbreakable. Yes,
it's like
solid
gold, platinum, and then there's adamantium. So I'm just saying, as you pointed out, Keyshawn Vaughn, 12 pass targets in his career, 5 drops, 5 catches, and he fumbled on one of those catches. Yeah, so this guy is not it when it comes to catching the ball. That's why they brought in this guy,
right?
Le'Veon Bell.
And we'll see if Le'Veon Bell is. I mean, he definitely was at one point in his career. It's been a while since we saw that player. But I think the rationale with Le'Veon Bell and bringing him in is this. Let me just real quickly address this question here. Is Sherman playing? Yeah. We don't know about Richard Sherman yet. Sorry, I did forget to mention him. That's my bad. He was limited today in practice with his Achilles injury. So we'll see if he returns too. Could have the full secondary, Mike Edwards, back from suspension as well. Antonio Brown was a limited participant, but Bruce Arians said he's 100% and he looks like he did before the injury. So I guess we're not foreseeing anything there.
Today was a walkthrough Wednesday practice. So it's kind of tough to kind of gauge. We'll have a better idea tomorrow. So that's why, even though we're getting closer to Christmas and the holiday season, make sure you stay locked into PeterReport.com this week. Tomorrow is a big day because they're going to have a full practice. Friday, we're going to see some determinations on who's going to be in and out. So, we've got Christmas coming up on Saturday, but just make sure that you're locked in tomorrow and Friday to PeterReport.com.
Your family will understand for sure. No question.
Just
and if you haven't checked,
pull it up on your phone.
That's right. Get away when you need to, right? Harvinder says, watch John's all 22. Brady was definitely not to blame. Those wide receivers were just doing their job, and Brayton Gronk just had a bad day. I watched this game live, Scott, against Saints, and I was like, oh, okay, Brady,
I'm sorry.
I thought he played fine. It was like, but then I rewatching it, it was like, no, he actually played good. Like, I don't, there's very little to complain about late in the game. Everybody was pissed off, and Brady was one of them, and he made a couple, bad throws late I'm talking like the last 2 drives, they're down 9-0 that situation. But most of the game, he was really fine. He was good, I would even say. I know that people are going to probably push back against that. I don't try not to use those words, but just check out the All 22. I dropped one. I'm not going to get into it a lot on this show. I pointed out about 20 or plus plays in the game, showing you route running mistakes, drops, and protection errors, and all kinds of stuff, especially when the young players got in the game. Before that, I think it's important to note that he was doing pretty well. And I think, just in general, I think he's been moving in the right direction a little bit lately. And so I think getting the guys back is going to be key, and getting guys more reps in their spots is going to be key. Obviously, no Chris Godwin, Scott, moving forward. And that represents a little bit of a struggle, right? So now you're thinking about, how do the Bucs replace him? We talked about it a little bit on Monday.
Yeah.
Brashad Perriman's the other kind of forgotten guy. Bruce Arians said today he's really close to coming off the COVID list. And so probably if him back this week as well. So Perriman and AB, and then probably if Evans can't play, Johnson or Miller would be out there, you would think, too. And if Evans does play, then maybe Miller's in trouble being inactive again. But that's going to be the group probably. And I would imagine Tyler Johnson's going to get a good amount of opportunities, while Perriman will mix in there a good bit as well, especially with AB probably not getting 100% of the workload just yet.
Yeah. And the thing is Bruce Arians was asked today, if losing Godwin is as big a loss as kind of we all think it is. And he says, because he's the focal point of the offense. The offense runs through Chris Godwin in that slot position. And you're not going to see Tyler Johnson get 15 catches in this game. They feature Chris Godwin because of 2 reasons. Number one, because of the position. It is the focal point. That slot receiver is crucial, because that's where Bruce Arians likes to attack. He likes to attack the middle of the field, because that's usually a favorable matchup. Big time Pro Bowl cornerbacks that are worth, tens of millions of dollars are on the outside, not in the nickel, not in the slot. And so you have Godwin, and sometimes he gets matched up against a slot corner. Sometimes it's a safety. Sometimes it's a linebacker in zone coverage with bracket coverage. And that's a winnable matchup. So part of it is the position itself. The other part of it is Chris Godwin. He's a special player. He's a special guy. And Johnson is not a special guy. Johnson is a number 4, maybe number 5 wide receiver on most teams. So I think you're going to see the first part of this, the focal point of the offense, it's going to probably warrant 7-8 targets in the game just because of the slot position itself.
That's exactly right.
But you're not going to see 15 to 18 targets like you might, because Chris Godwin's not in there.
That's what has made me think about this more since Monday's show, Scott, is because will they change the offense so that it's less of a volume spot for Chris Godwin? He was always going to be the volume receiver. We said that before the year. The numbers bore it out during the year. Targets, catches, obviously yards is a byproduct of that. He was at the top of the team. Wasn't even that close for second place, to be honest, even as good as Mike Evans is. I don't know whether they are going to take that and say, hey, we're going to change the role. We're going to change a little bit of the offense. Or is it easier to say, all right, now we're going to plug a player in there and just ask them to do the same thing. But if you do that, Tyler Johnson, you cannot be giving Tyler Johnson your most targets. And you know what I mean? Like, nobody cares if that's Chris Godwin, even if AB and Evans are out there. But if it's Tyler Johnson and AB and Evans are out there, you've got a huge problem. So that's what's made me go back and think a little bit, what if AB is actually going to play a little bit more of this role than I kind of thought it was? I don't think it'll be Evans. But what if AB is going to do a little bit more of this than I thought maybe he was before?
I think you're on to something there. And I think that they're going to change the dynamics of this role, this slot receiver position, situationally, right? On first downs, it might be Tyler Johnson in there. He might run a route on first down, or he might, crack back on a linebacker or safety in the run game, right? On 3rd and 12, you might see AB in the slot, and he's not going to do any run blocking. That's going to be a passing down, but he might be running some of those routes that Chris Godwin would run in those obvious passing situations. So I agree with you. I think they platoon those 2 guys in there. I think Perriman's probably going to stay outside, but because of AB's creativity and his ability to work through zone or man coverage wherever he is lined up on the field, I think you're on something there, John.
There's problems with everything, though. Like, everything presents some type of an issue. If Tyler Johnson has to stay outside and be more of an outside receiver because he can't do Chris Godwin's role, they don't want him to be in that high volume of a role, then is Tyler Johnson going to continue to struggle because he's not been as good outside as he has been inside? He's just not, he doesn't have the assets. You could see it from the first snap of the game. He got bodied by Marshawn Lattimore, and, it was like, couldn't be an inbreaker on that route. He couldn't get open. And so that's kind of been his struggle all season long when he's been on the outside. He doesn't have the speed or quickness to separate from guys the line of scrimmage or down the field. So he basically would be kind of like a non-asset at that point if he wasn't be able to play more in the slot. If he's just your blocking guy, Tyler Johnson is not that great of a blocker. He's had moments, but he's not. I mean, he got
certainly not against the Saints.
It's just not been. He's not as big as Godwin. He's not as strong. He's not as technically sound. There will be games where he'll get after people, but he's more of like a leverage crack. He'll crack guys, things like that. But he's not going to come straight. Godwin will go through the hole like a fullback and uproot guys. And that's how they use him. You can't use Tyler Johnson that way. You definitely can't use AB that way. You don't have anybody on your roster you can use that way now. So you got to run the ball a little bit differently. So it's a lot of changes. They're going to have to run more out of spread, which I think can honestly help them in a lot of ways.
I agree.
As much as I like Godwin as a blocker, I don't think that he's such an asset as a blocker that it bringing more people into the box is always a good thing. There's going to be a lot of changes with it. I think you'll see AB play some in the slot. I don't think you'll see Tyler Johnson step in and play 90% of the snaps like Godwin was. I think you'll see some combination, and it'll involve Perryman playing. And look, if Tyler Johnson can't separate on the outside, this guy's had a larger sample size to prove himself than anybody other than the big three since Scotty played at the beginning of last year. And Scotty proved himself at the beginning of last year, Scott. Bruce Arians can say what he wants about Scotty's struggles, getting off press against big corners, things like that. And I get it. I'm not saying Scotty should be your number one, like he had to be in like the Saints game and things like that.
Right.
But there'd be a role for Scotty at field stretcher that Tyler Johnson's not going to give if that guy has to play outside. Yeah. They've got to consider letting him play more, if they're going to use AB more in the slot, I think.
Yeah, I think the thing too is when you look at Perryman, the problem is with Perryman, he's got a situation this week because if they want him to play some in the slot, he has not taken reps there, and he won't until he gets off the COVID list. So he's not even practicing because he's on the COVID list. So he's not really going to be involved in the on-field game planning. He'll be virtually in meetings and things like that while he's on this list, but that's just not going to happen.
I'm just fascinated to see how this works. I don't know what they're going to do because of how unique Godwin is to the offense. I've in the past, I would have said, they're training Tyler Johnson to be that guy. But given the fact we've seen so much of Tyler Johnson this season and so much of it has been unimpressive, I don't know that they're going to feel comfortable. Bruce Arians' comments on Bucs Total Access, you can read them over at pewterreport.com. We wrote a bunch of quotes. He had very specific quotes on Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson and the tight ends as well. It was really good stuff. But one of the things he's talking about basically is that Tyler Johnson just straight up isn't getting open one-on-one against man coverage. And he said that all season. Like Bruce Arians has said that all year. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see who he thinks is the best of those guys. I think he thinks Perryman's the best. I don't know if Perryman is, but at this point, I'd rather see him. I think I'd rather see him than Tyler Johnson. Just to see if he can give you that one big play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Can he threaten you in one way? It's the Scotty Miller factor. They can at least threaten you in one way. Right now, Tyler Johnson's not really threatening anybody in what he's asked to do. So it makes it difficult to find a role for him.
Right. Well, we're not going to threaten you. We're going to ask you to subscribe to our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel because we're nice. And so we ask you, please, if you're watching this broadcast, whether you're live or whether you're watching the taped version of it on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on SoundCloud, make sure you go to Pewter Report TV, hit the subscribe button, and then hit the like button for all of our videos, not just one, but all of them. Go ahead, the like button for every single one. Why? Because it helps our algorithm, gets us up in the search rankings, so other Buccaneer fans can find out about us and enjoy the content that we provide to all you guys. So thank you.
Absolutely. And if you don't know, if you're looking for a more in-depth conversation, not just about the Bucs or about sports, you can go over to Spotify Green Room, talk music, sports, and culture live. You can join the conversation there. You can jump into these rooms and you can take the mic. You can download Spotify Green Room on the App Store, and you can get it on Google Play. It's awesome stuff with our friends from Spotify Green Room. And then, of course, if you're looking for a great night out with a family, there's no better place than Pin Chasers. Great place to go for bowling, for food especially. They got an all-you-can-eat pizza night, Scott. And I heard you can get breakfast any time of the day at Pin Chasers. I love that. I think that's great.
No, it is. And the food is really good too. It's not bowling alley food. It's like you're going to a bowling alley, but also a restaurant. So the food is better than you think. Don't sleep on it. Go there hungry, because whether it's the Philly cheesesteaks, the pizza is phenomenal. Their breakfast. I've been bowling on Sunday mornings and had their brunch. It's quite good. They also have got a bar there. You can grab a beer, soft drinks, and water for the kids. So it's a great opportunity to have some family fun and get fed.
That's right. It's great stuff. And you can see the locations up there, East Pasco, Midtown, and Veterans. So make sure you check those out. Pin Chaser's great place to take the family out, even during you got family in town or holiday during the next week or so. It's a great place to stop by and have some fun with the family, have some good food as well. So, Scott, we got to dive into this Panthers match. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need. We haven't talked about Bell a lot. Let's talk about Le'Veon Bell a little bit more. Yes. Bruce Arians said today that recommendation from Randy Fichtner, who is the Steelers offensive coordinator for the last couple of years before this year, and then was Bruce Arians' quarterbacks coach when Arians coached in Pittsburgh. Fichtner just kind of stuck it out there for a long time and then was finally fired last year. It's actually really funny. I posted that on Twitter about Fichtner recommending Bell to Arians, and Steelers fans lost their mind because Fichtner was just so horrible in 2 years as an OC in Pittsburgh. But I think he knows Le'Veon Bell. He's coached Bell for 5 years, 4 years, I guess.
And that's Le'Veon Bell, by the way. He did play 5 games for the Ravens this year.
Right. And he wore number 17, which was a massive mistake. So it's not surprising that it didn't work out for him. Now he's wearing number 6 for the Bucs. So I'm just saying, I think luck. Yes, the chances of him going off, Scott, are just so much higher wearing a good number like that. I mean,
there's no
17 on a running back is repulsive, but 6, that's great.
Yes.
6 is good stuff.
You can see here he's already getting the download. The new Matrix movie came out. I think they're trying to do that to Le'Veon Bell, to stick a little cord in the back of his head and download all of the passing game plays.
They saw Keyshawn Vaughn tear his ACL running around on air, and they said, "You know what? We're gonna need to do whatever it takes to get this guy on the field."
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's Todd McNair. He's pulling the Matrix with Le'Veon Bell. And the interesting thing is in listening to the Le'Veon Bell's press conference today, Tom Brady told him, "If you need anything, don't go to the coaches. Come to me." That's what he said.
He said, "Don't go to the coaches." I thought he said, "Come to me." I didn't see he said, "Don't go to the coaches."
Well, don't go to come to me first. I should say. I'm not trying to suggest that Tom Brady says, like, screw Todd McNair. Now, Todd McNair knows what he's doing. He's a great running backs coach. But what he's saying is, come to me first, because Tom Brady's going to be the one throwing him the ball. It's not going to be Todd McNair or Byron Leftwich or Bruce Arians. And I would suspect you're going to see a lot of Tom Brady playing catch with Le'Veon Bell today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday before the game. And I think you're going to see Le'Veon Bell come in on third downs on Sunday. That's my prediction, because this guy can still catch the ball. Running the ball, he's lost some juice for sure. But let's not focus on what he did with the Steelers, because that was many, many moons ago. 3 1,000-yard seasons, 3 Pro Bowl years. He missed 2018, had the contract dispute, signed with the Jets. That was an abomination of a signing. It didn't work out. He ended up with Kansas City 7 games into the 2020 season. In Kansas City, he rushed the ball 63 times for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. 4-yard average, was okay, was serviceable, but he caught 13 passes for 99 yards. And with Baltimore, he was called on to do a little bit more running, because they just have had a lot of injuries at the running back position. 31 carries, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. In Baltimore, 1 catch, -1 yard. They don't throw the ball to the backs in Baltimore, so I'm not looking at that. But what I am looking at is, this is a running back who, over his career, has averaged 8.2 yards per catch. And that's a little bit better than what Leonard Fournette has done here. So, John, I think at the very least, this guy can come in, has protect on third downs, catch a couple passes, move the sticks. I think that's kind of what they're looking for, is for him to come in and be head and shoulders above Keyshawn Vaughn and Ronald Jones on third downs for Tom Brady.
And they may have interrupted his boxing career as it was getting underway for Le'Veon Bell as he signed with the Bucs. He's talked about that a little bit, and he was recently in the news. Actually, he was tweeting at that blonde circus clown who is paying people to let him knock them out. I forget his name, but he was tweeting at him about like, oh, I'll fight you, blah, 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 like 2 days before the Bucs signed him. So, oh, well, we'll see. I covered Le'Veon Bell for years in Pittsburgh. Obviously with AB, those two were close friends. I don't know what the relationship's like now. I don't know if he was asked that today or not, but he, I think Bell's a good dude. Like there's none of the AB concerns that I had personally. Like he's a good dude who, when he was young, made some silly mistakes, but he hasn't been a bad apple anywhere that I know of. Even in Pittsburgh, like the contract thing, I think
really more ego than it was character, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's things like if you were signing him to big money, I'd be, but this is a situation. They want him to play for 3 weeks. That's all that it is. And Fournette's hopefully back after that. And maybe Gio's back at some point in the playoffs. And, unless Bell is like clearly better than, maybe he is better than Vaughn, we'll see if he even has a role at that point, but it's going to be ancillary. It's not going to be a big deal in that way. So I'm sure that he will be better than Vaughn. William Butler with the
better than Vaughn.
$5 super chat. I'm playing the Saints on Madden right now and make sure they don't score. I'm still salty. Good job, William. Put that on rookie mode or whatever Madden has these days.
Do whatever it takes to get that W, William. Okay.
Get the bad taste out of your mouth.
Now, speaking of salty, I was a little salty on Sunday. I think it was right after the blades of grass covered Keyshawn Vaughn on his second pass attempt and covered him so well that tripped him up. No penalty called on the grass, though. Maybe the blown call, but Vaughn ended up on his butt, wide open, but ended up on his butt, unable to haul in that second pass from Tom Brady after dropping a perfectly thrown pass from Brady on the first attempt.
Yeah.
And so what I said was after that, I tweeted out from the Peter Report account, it ain't Vaughn, not in 2021, not in 2022.
You're probably right. Bruce Arians continues to praise him. It's weird. He and Jalen Darden, I
thought about this. He has to. This is all coach speak right here. What's he going to say? We don't have any faith in Vaughn. Then he plays Vaughn because Rojo's going to need some breathers. It's like you're and listen. I take things from every coach I've covered, even the bad ones, right? And one thing Dirk Cutter said when they had a rash of injuries is he just kind of came out and said, listen, the cavalry's not coming. There's no saviors on the street.
Right.
We have to play who we have. These guys know the system. So the cavalry's not coming, guys. I mean, that's exactly what Dirk Cutter said. I appreciate his honesty. And really, is Le'Veon Bell a savior on the street? There's a lot of teams out there that need running backs. And, he's out there for a reason, right? I mean, and maybe this fits, maybe this works. Maybe he's super jazzed to play with Tom Brady. It sounded like he was. So maybe his effort level goes up and he does some pass protection things and catches the ball and helps out for a couple weeks. Maybe he sticks around and gets a ring or, at least a hat and a t-shirt. We'll see. But it just, to me, John, it's coach speak. Anything I hear about Jalen Darden or Keyshawn Vaughn, I'm going to respect the hell out of Bruce Arians. He knows he's forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But how can you sit there and look at what these guys have done or not done and say, I'm really fired up about Jalen Darden and Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah. You can't, which is why these guys need to step in. Antonio Brown needs to be ready for a bigger role. Gronk needs to bounce back. Bruce said something on Bucs Total Access was interesting. Just basically said, he was kind of asked, Casey Phelps kind of asked him about Gronk and Brady and their connection. And he was like, yeah, I think they obviously, neither of them are satisfied. And he said, especially Gronk, he said the guys are, he said that it was today, maybe in media, he said the 10 guys around Brady need to step up and play a lot better. I appreciate it. Right. Everybody's always gets on Arians when he rips Brady, but really what Arians has said all week is that Brady, he said it on Bucs Total Access, Brady played fine. Everybody else was a huge problem. And that can't be the case moving forward. We need to do a way better job around him. And, he's been a straight up whenever he's been asked, said exactly what he thinks about Brady's play. And he's done nothing but defend him this week. And so then I think it's spot on. And so I think we'll see, Panthers game as we kind of transition and move over to that part of it. Oh, actually, before we do that, we got to talk about Ryan Suckup. I'm sorry. We didn't do this on Monday's podcast, and I had said in the description we would. I apologize to people who are looking for that. I'm glad we didn't, though, because today we've got even more to talk about. Arians has made it clear for a couple weeks now, Ryan Succup's misses have to stop. Here's the only problem. Ryan Suckup really hasn't missed that many kicks, Scott. He hasn't missed a field goal before the other day, which was a 48-yarder. He missed it. Yeah, he should make it. Yeah. But he hadn't missed a field goal since week 7. Before that, he's only missed 4 on the year. He's only taken 21, so it's not great, but it's not bad.
Right.
It's definitely not like a string of misses, and he's 47 of 50 on extra points, which obviously he's kicking more extra points than anybody else in the league this year, which is a better percentage than he had last year. I'm not saying Succop has had this unreal all-pro season, but he was 28 of 31 on field goals last year, and he's 17 to 21 this year on field goals. Less opportunities, but he's missed 4 and he missed 3 last year, and one of the ones he missed this year was a 56-yarder. Like, that's probably outside his ability. So I just don't really get it. Like, why are we being critical of a kicker without like considerable reason to be critical of? Now, he knows that Succop's headspace better than I do, but I'm never trying to mess with the kicker's head. And if that kicker's like really struggling, maybe I try that tactic. But like Ryan Succop's not struggling. Like, this is a weird thing to me that Bruce Arians hasn't just brushed off the Ryan Succop stuff. It's just not that big. He should have made the kick against the Saints. It could have changed the outlook of some things for sure. But it's just not that big of a deal. Like, Succop has not been bad. I don't get it.
No, I'm with you. He hasn't been bad. I
mean, you never know when it's coming.
I think you're right. Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, don't mess with the kicker's head. Right.
That's what I'm saying.
You can yell at Brady all you want. He didn't care. I mean, it'll just piss him off and make him play better the next week. But yeah. And the other thing is, how about the punter? It's like, I think
and he talked about Pinion too.
Yeah, Pinion has to punt better too. And special teams have not been special. And I don't know that he's going to do anything with Keith Armstrong, but man, it's like at some point you got to hold somebody accountable for how just non-existent this unit has been. I mean, it sounds so cliche to say the Bucs special teams are unspecial, but they are. I mean, there's nothing special about special teams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's hard to even judge their coverage teams because they allow so few returns in general. They don't punt very often, and then they don't allow many kickoff returns. So they especially kind of get more hidden than almost any other team in the league. And in a game like this, they punt against the Saints a bunch of times and they give up a big punt return. It makes a big difference, obviously. Overall, I mean, the return games obviously haven't been good. Darden falling on his face is part of that, and I don't know how much of that to put on Armstrong. But then Bruce Arians goes out and praises Armstrong every week when he's asked, or praises Darden when he's asked about him every week, and I'm always like, what? But anyway,
I think that was it. I'm sorry. I think in hindsight's always 20/20. But I mean, Jaden Mickens would be helping this team right now.
I tried to tell everybody. Yeah. Everybody's like, no, Mickens never does anything. Nope, he doesn't make mistakes though.
Doesn't make mistakes. Yes.
Yeah. He always got positive yardage.
I think he gives you more as a receiver. Right.
He does, yeah, for sure.
I think he's a better player. I mean, I think they rolled the dice. They had to give Darden enough time, and they're still going to give him next year. They're not going to cut him in the offseason. I mean, they'll be in training camp and stuff, but it's like the NFL is a fast moving train, man. It's like you get a year, you get 2 training camps to show you can develop and improve, right?
Yep.
And even a guy like Anthony Nelson is way better now than he was last year or the year before. Is he ever going to be anything more than maybe a 3-sack guy? Maybe not. Maybe he's hit his ceiling right now, but he has improved.
He has. Yep.
But it's you need to see the improvement from Keyshawn Vaughn and Jalen Darden. They've got to be head and shoulders better next August than they are right now. Otherwise, they're not locks for this team.
Yeah, and to be fair to Darden, it's a big jump, and I personally am not like I don't care to like necessarily comment on his future. I'm just saying right now, like if he has to play wide receiver snaps, I mean, he was supposed to be like the 7th or 8th guy on the team going into the year, and then like things happen, and you can only bring Cyril Grayson up so many times, I guess, and so all that kind of stuff. And Mickens is gone now, and so I mean, he becomes the 6th guy, and then 4 guys get hurt, and he's in the game, and so it's hard to plan for that amount of injuries, if you're a team. So anyway, and Bruce said he did get open some. I didn't see that necessarily on the tape, but oh well. So your hope is that he won't have to play that much this week, and we'll see what happens, obviously. But let's talk about the Panthers a little bit.
Let's talk about
more specifically, because we got to get into this matchup offensively, Scott.
So we have some breaking news out of Carolina, John.
Oh my.
Okay. The breaking news is Cam Newton's going to start, but
that's been happening.
Sam Darnold's going to play.
Oh my!
That's what
so no PJ Walker. They're not playing their best quarterback. They're choosing not to play PJ Walker. Their best quarterback. Okay.
Nope. I think we're going to see, and this could be gamesmanship, right? That this could be making sure that a guy like Todd Bowles has got to prepare for both. And of course, Bowles would say, "We're just preparing for Carolina's system. We're not necessarily game planning for any particular quarterback. But the problem is Sam Darnold is a passing quarterback, right? He will throw the ball. And when you look at Cam Newton, he will run the ball. Matter of fact, even though Cam Newton is not the Cam Newton that he used to be, rushing for a dozen touchdowns, 14, 20 touchdowns, whatever he had in his MVP season, he will still tuck the ball and run. And that's because he struggles as a passer, right? It's like he's not very accurate. He is not nearly the quarterback that he used to be. Injuries have really robbed Cam of being that player. And you look at Newton through 5 games, 54.9% completion percentage, and with 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, Darnold has not been lighting it up either before he got hurt with that shoulder injury, kind of like a back injury, really. 7 touchdowns, 11 picks. Was off to the hot start, but now he's dipped below 50, or I should say below 60% completion percentage, 59.5. But he's averaging 241 yards per game in there as a passer, whereas Newton only 161 passing yards. And Newton will take off and run with the ball in those 5 games, 183 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns. He's dangerous down there by the goal line. The Buccaneer fans know that more than the current Buccaneer players and coaches. I would say Levante David knows it, but Levante is not going to be out there helping out. Yeah. But without Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard has been the guy. The rookie out of Oklahoma State has got 500 yards rushing, 3.6 yard average. Kind of a track guy, but really has not shown that track speed. Longest run of the year, 26 yards, and I doubt he's going to come anywhere close to that against a stout run defense like the Bucs. So they don't really run the ball that well behind the offensive line. 4 touchdowns for Hubbard. And without McCaffrey, they're just not dynamic on the ground. They brought in Amir Abdullah, and he is the kind of that pass catching back. He scored a touchdown against Buffalo in the passing game, but their passing game really, John, is DJ Moore. All right, he's been the guy for them in the passing game. Moore had some success last year against the Buccaneers, right? He played in 2 games. If you remember back in week 2 in Tampa, 8 catches, 120 yards. And then in the rematch in Carolina, the Buccaneers won both these games handily. 46-23 was the one. That was where Ronald Jones had the 98-yard touchdown run, ran for 192 yards. But in that game, Moore had 4 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. So he's had a really good season.
And he is on the injury report today with a hamstring and did not participate today for the Panthers. So we will see how that plays out. Also, here's a funny bit of news. Speaking of breaking news, Stefan Gilmore was also on the injury report today as a limited participant. And Stefan Gilmore had no idea that he was on the injury report. He met with the media today, and they told him he was on the injury report. And they asked him how his knee was feeling. And he said he did not know he was on the injury report. And it's blowing up on Twitter right now as a big thing. Everybody's making fun of the Panthers. And they've pretty much been making fun of the Panthers all season long. This is not a losing record team that is kind of like coming together and finding their way and they're scrapped. Like they have pretty much been coming apart at the seams, especially over the quarterback decisions. Like Matt Rule has been vocally blaming Cam Newton for stuff that is like kind of like clearly not Newton's fault on tape, and then Newton has obviously still not been good. On top of that, it has been a bizarre. Rule is like going into every press conference like clarifying things that he said or like contradicting himself. It's
John. He fired his offensive coordinator this year.
Fires offensive, like in a like what? He's working with Sam Darnold. What's left of Cam Newton and PJ Walker? I just like, what are you even thinking? Like Joe Brady. Meanwhile, everybody wants to hire him. And he's like sitting back and waiting to look at his jobs. I'm not even saying Brady's great. I'm just saying how the heck, like what? Like they have nothing at quarterback. It just these are decisions Rule made. Now here's my thought, Scott. I don't think Rule, obviously, Sam Darnold was horrible. And so I don't think he can't wait to go back to Sam Darnold. But I really don't think he wants like the Cam Newton thing. Like, I could go into a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to. I'm just saying I don't think he wants the Cam Newton thing to be a thing. I think he's going to say he's going to start him. And then he's going to, and then I'll sit him and it'll be Darnold.
Darnold mostly the game. I agree.
Which me and the Bucs should have 3 picks. So,
that's for sure.
No matter who plays.
Yeah, and the thing too is they invested some money in Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson had a much better year last year than he did this past season, and they made the commitment to Anderson. Only 401 yards on 39 catches. I mean, when you look at DJ Moore. DJ Moore has 78 catches for 986 yards, averaging 12.6 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns. Robbie Anderson really is about half the production, except he's got 4 touchdowns also, but 39 catches, 401 yards. It's just a huge drop off. It's not like it's Evans and Godwin where it's kind of like 1A and 1B. This is like, 1 and then like number 3, really. There is no number 2 guy in Carolina. It's Anderson, but kind of by default, they just don't have a lot of weapons to throw the ball to, and as a result, that means Sam Darnold holds on to the ball, he gets sacked, he throws interceptions. Darnold in 9 games was sacked 22 times. So that offensive line is a bit of an issue when you look at Carolina.
It's a huge issue. They might be the worst offensive line in the NFL, Scott. I mean, And then you take into consideration the quarterbacks too. Darnold's never had good pocket presence. Cam Newton's pocket presence has probably been his worst trait. You talk about offensive line that's already bad, and now Matt Paradise is out, I believe, their center.
Yeah.
And Cam Irving was on the injury report today with a calf injury, who I believe is their left tackle. He's limited today.
Yeah.
I mean, that is where this game, like, we're going to talk about the Bucs offense, but there is just absolutely a defensive line as good as the Bucs should pulverize this Panthers front. And
there's no doubt about it.
Multiple sacks, strip sacks, forced interceptions. It should be the splashiest game of the year. You have mistake-prone quarterbacks who take a lot of sacks against the Bucs and Todd Bowles. It's like
John Miller, the right guard, has given up 5 sacks this year. Michael Jordan, not the MJ, this other guy. Has
definitely, definitely not MJ. Let's just clarify.
Yeah. Not even Michael B. Jordan. This is like Michael F. Jordan.
That's right.
Okay?
Michael F. Jordan.
I'm just saying, like, he has given up 4 sacks, and then you've got Pat Elflein.
Michael Z. Jordan. Put him at the bottom.
Z. Jordan. Yeah. And then you've got Pat Elflein, if I'm saying his name correctly. He's the center. Filling in for Matt Paradise, who's an injured reserve. And even Taylor Moton has not been as good as he was last year in terms of pass protection. And Cam Irving, God for help me. That's Cam Jordan. Oh my God, I'm just bringing up those nightmares from Sunday night. Sorry, I meant Cam Irving. The left tackle is not good. He's given up 3 sacks and I believe 21 pressures this year. So that is a wickedly bad group. At the same time, John, if I'm being honest, and I am being honest, I was not impressed with what anybody on that Bucs defensive line outside of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka did against the New Orleans Saints when they were starting to. You're talking
about just pass rush, right?
Pass rush, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Just getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, it's probably the most discussed thing of that game, that the defensive line.
JTS did his thing. JPP was invisible. Yeah. I'm talking about the passing plays.
You're not getting jack from JPP the rest of the year. Like, it's just not just ain't in the tank. But these are good matchups for all these guys. Moton's a very good player. The rest of their offensive line is probably.
And he's had success against Shaq Barrett too. Taylor Moton's had some success against Shaq Barrett. So.
Right. And they should move Barrett around for sure. They should, they could run their games. Again, there's 4 extremely winnable matchups on this offensive line. There should be no reason why they can't take advantage of those matchups and win across the board in this game. Talking about the most diverse blitz package in the league. Now you are going to see blitz on blitz in this game because the Bucs blitz at the highest percentage in the NFL. Yes. Panthers are the 3rd highest. Most of the teams the Bucs have played this year have not blitzed a lot, especially against Brady, because they realize it's a bad idea. No clue how the Panthers will treat that, if they'll think they can one-up everybody else in that area, or if they'll change tactics. But
I watched the Panthers-Bills game waiting for the Bucs game last Sunday. I was very impressed with what I saw from Carolina's front 4. They had Josh Allen, who is a running quarterback, running all day, running for his life. He got sacked 4 times. So how much better does the Bucs O-line match up against the Panthers D-line? I'm going to say not very, very well, to be honest. Talent across the board, the Bucs have it, but they got to show up. And maybe they will, because they played so poorly against the Saints. Maybe this is such a prideful group. Ryan Jensen, Donovan Smith, Tristan Wirfs, Ali Marpet, Alex Kappa. You can point to all 5 guys. Maybe Marpet played the best. Right? I think Marpet had an okay. He had a winnable game. I thought he won most of his matchups. I can't say the same for the other 4. And if you have one guy, it's almost like a leaky faucet. If you have one guy that's not really doing well, that's acceptable, right? Out of 5.
Right.
But when it's 4 out of 5 that aren't playing well, like, holy crap,
right,
batten down the hatches.
I'm worried about Donovan Smith. I'm not really worried about anybody else. I mean, Burns is tough. Reddick's tough, but he's going to be going up against most of the game, probably against Wirfs, and Reddick's not really big. He's not powerful. Yeah, nobody who is not powerful has given Wirfs issues. He's never struggled with speed. So I like the matchup there. Fine. Burns, because he can inside out you, that's who Smith struggles against. So I'm worried about that one. But
the thing is Burns played an awful lot, and maybe it's a matchup thing, but he played an awful lot, almost I think the whole game at left end going up against the right tackle for Buffalo. So
I have him, 23 snaps on the left side against Buffalo. So he did split more in that game than other ones. He still had 36 on the right side. But in other games before, like the game before, was 8 snaps on the right side, on the left side. Sorry, 39 on the right side. So it depends on the game. He has moved around.
It depends on the game and the matchup, and that's one thing too. They will move him around. They'll move Hassan Reddick around. Reddick has 11 sacks. Burns has 9. So that's 20 sacks between those 2 guys. The Panthers have 36 sacks in the season, so they can get after the quarterback. If they're going to stymie the Buccaneers, it will be in the pass rush department. Gross Matos is an up and comer. He got a sack last week. He's more of a bigger guy than Burns, who's the undersized, twitchy guy. Hassan Reddick is a linebacker.
Reddick was a linebacker. Yeah, that's how small he was at one point.
Yeah, he's even smaller and twitchier. Right. But both those guys bring speed. And it's interesting because Arian said that they bring some speed off the outside, but they'll rush inside too. And now what the Saints did on a couple of occasions, and that's how Cam Jordan got his sack against Alex Kappa, was he was a defensive end, lined up a defensive tackle, and came inside. And you had, I want to say it might have been Quan Alexander on both of those plays, but they had a true linebacker on the outside playing the edge. And I know for sure that Alexander lined up on Donovan Smith, and they moved Marcus Davenport, who's a defensive end, inside to tackle. And that's where he looped around Ryan Jensen and came through and got a sack. So, So 2 sacks by defensive ends from the Saints came actually inside. Now, the difference is Cam Jordan's a big dude. He's a big physical guy.
Totally different physical matchup. Yeah.
Totally different, right, in terms of that, because Brian Burns is nowhere near the size of Marcus Davenport or Cam Jordan. But I just wonder if they're going to be doing a lot of twisting and stunting inside, kind of like what the Bucs are doing, John, with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, trying to create some of those speed matchups. And John, in your Bucs briefing, it was not Bucs briefing. It was your Stop the Madness. It's time to start JTS. That story. You had a great video where, and I pulled out the stopwatch. JTS goes from the strong side B gap at the snap all the way across the guard, the center, the guard, and the tackle space, and hits the weak side C. So he crosses through 5 gaps down the line of scrimmage on a twist and came around the tackle in this C gap, strong side B to weak side C, in 3 seconds. He was on Taysom Hill, almost got a sack in 3 seconds.
Was that the one beginning of the game? He forced the throwaway on 3rd down?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was an
unbelievable.
Incredible rush.
Yeah, because in that play, Sue is wrapping to contain Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill goes way out of the pocket and kind of at the last thing is outrunning Sue. I don't know whether
no. It wasn't that play. No. It wasn't that play. It was a different. It ended up being a throwaway. It ended up being an incomplete pass. Hill was in the pocket the whole time.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yep. Forced an incomplete. Quick throw. Yeah, before he was ready.
It was the end zone
so many plays. There was
where he goes from left to right. It's incredible.
Yeah, he is allowing them to do a lot, especially in terms of containing the pocket. That's a good point. All those plays, he's awesome. And so he needs to play more for sure. Emily says, I know it's because of the last game, but why do I just have a bad feeling about this next game? I mean, it's a banged up team that's trying to figure out who's going to play a couple key roles for this team. I mean, there's changes at running back, and you have two very mistake-prone players playing. We're going to play most of your snaps at running back. So when they get touches, yeah, everyone will be holding their breath, and you have new guys filling in for Chris Godwin, and none of them are proven, especially in that role. So yeah, you're going to be asking questions. The offensive line is coming off a rough game. The sample size still says it's a great unit. I'm not necessarily as worried about them, but obviously the Panthers have a good front, and they have a good secondary too. I mean, this is a team that is right now second in the NFL in passing yards against per game. Allowed. Now they can be run on a little bit. They're a little bit smaller up front. They've had some issues at defensive tackle. They sat Derek Brown, who was their first round pick. They sat him down for a little bit. He came back and has played a little bit better since then. And so we'll see what happens. But maybe they can be run on a little bit. But it's a good D line. Going to have to control the trenches. But it's strength on strength there. Bucs have obviously excelled on the O line. I'm not writing them off after one bad game, half really against the Saints. And so they need to be really well prepared for the pressure the Saints are going to throw at them. And they need the quick game to be ready too. I mean, Antonio Brown's got to make a big impact. It's hard to see the Bucs offense having a lot of success if Antonio Brown doesn't make a big impact.
I agree. And I think what concerns me, just like it does Emily, if there is cause for concern, I think it's two things. Number one, it is if Carolina's pressure can get to Tom Brady. And we saw that last week. Even though Brady played pretty well, he got sacked 4 times. The interception, I'm going to forgive that because that was just garbage time, essentially. He's just trying to make something happen because nobody else around him was helping out. But go back to the Washington game, right? That was a game where Brady got affected by pressure. And in both of those games, the Saints game and the Washington game, the offense just was not the same. From a point production standpoint, from a yardage standpoint, it just wasn't. So I think if you have a concern, as I do, it's that right there. But if you do have any concerns about your finances, well, I got some good news for you, folks. Call our friends, our sponsors over at Immuni Financial because they've got all the answers for you when it comes to your family's finances.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you? Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it. All right. Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
John, I'm not retiring anytime soon, but I am planning for it. For when that day comes, Immuni Financial is going to help me out because they're more about just managing families' wealth and all that stuff. It's more than that. It's about legacy planning. It's about brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. With 40 years of experience, let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Call Immuni Financial at 1-800-868-6864 or visit immuni.com. And John, if you are looking to do something more of a short-term investments, well, then I would recommend highly going over to our friends at MyBookie because they're going to double your first deposit, or you can get a quick return on your investment. Bucs Panthers coming up on Sunday, but a lot of NFL games and some college bowl games too. This is college bowl season. Make sure that when you do sign up using MyBookie to use promo code Pewter, they're going to double your first deposit. Use the promo code Pewter, John, and get in the game because you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got some great stuff going on, so make sure you use that promo code Pewter, get involved in all of that. Ted Curtis with the $5 super chat. Which surprise player has been quiet or is underplayed that you could see stepping up when the stakes are high in the postseason besides Gabbert? This is a good question. I don't know if I would. I mean, I'm going to say JTS. He's been underplayed, and production-wise, he's been quiet. Yeah. He's 4 sacks, but he could have 10. I think he's played to the caliber that he could have 10 despite being a part-time player. I can't imagine that as they get into crunch time, they're going to continue to play a clearly, unquestionably worse player in Jason Pierre-Paul. Maybe I'll be wrong and I'll be disappointed, but I can't imagine that in the playoffs they continue along this path. So he would be a guy that I would say I could see him having some game-changing plays in the playoffs.
Yeah, if this coaching staff would do the right thing and greatly reduce JPP's snaps, because he's not helping on rundowns, and he's certainly not affecting the passer at all. Right. I mean, he got 0 pressures against the Saints. I Cam Gill is kind of an exciting player to me, and I've liked what I've seen from him. I'll tell you what, I'm at the point where I would sit JPP for a game or two and maybe have him rest up a little bit and get a little healthier. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not on the Bucs defensive coaching staff, but the production they're getting from JTS in way fewer snaps, I would love to see him get JPP snaps right now. And then subbing and filling in for him, I want to see Cam Gill. I'd like to see the package, John, where JTS is inside, Cam Gill's on the outside opposite Shaq Barrett, and you either have Ndamukong Suh or Vita Vea right next to JTS pushing the pocket. That's a package that excites me because any four of those guys can get home to the quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And so those are good options there. Just getting back to the Panthers defense a little bit. I don't want to freak people out too much. We mentioned some things that are going to be struggles in this game. Having said all that, the Panthers this season are one of the highest percentage teams at playing single high defense just regularly. So either they play a defense that will play into what the Bucs like to do, to play into their hands some. They play a lot of cover 1 and a lot of cover 3.
That's
cover 1, they have good corners. Right. There's some man coverage there, but there also are going to be one-on-one options down the field. I think the Bucs will take him. Obviously, if Mike Evans doesn't play, it becomes less likely they'll hit him. But that's a factor in this game. Rashad Perriman, Scotty Miller could have matchups. Yes, they could have opportunities. So it's or the Panthers change things up and they try to do something they haven't done a lot of all year, and so there could be challenges with that presented as well if they go to more of a different look defensively in terms of their safety shell. So something to watch, something to monitor. I'm sure the Bucs are preparing for both outcomes, obviously, but it'll be a very different look than the Saints. Yeah,
and Dante Jackson has got 2 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. The Buccaneers, he's been really kind of hot and cold against the Buccaneers. He's had a good game back in his rookie season last year. He was not spectacular at all against Tampa Bay. Stefan Gilmore, 2 interceptions and 2 pass breakups. He's only been on the team for the last 7 games. Their coverage linebacker, Shaq Thompson, he's not the star that I think that they wanted him to be, drafting him in the first round, but he's pretty good in pass coverage. 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. And Jeremy Chin, I haven't watched enough Carolina, but I know that he had kind of a bit of a breakout rookie year last year. But I don't know that he has really taken that next step.
No, you're a great pick, though. He's a splashy player. He had a great pick last week of Josh Allen. Unbelievable play in zone coverage. And, the Panthers are interesting. You mentioned Dante Jackson. He's on injured reserve now for them, too. So they're down Jackson and they're down J.C. Horn and they're down A.J. Bouye at corner, too. So they've had a lot of injuries there. Obviously, Stefan Gilmore's around, but C.J. Henderson is not really – they traded for him, the Florida guy. I think some Bucs fans probably know him. Has not been really what they hoped to be getting. Keith Taylor, the 5th-round pick from Washington, is out there for them. Stanley, Thomas Oliver at corner. So, I mean, it is Gilmore and kind of a bunch of guys right now. Some of those guys have played within the system. They've not played a lot of, in some of the games they played best in, it hasn't been against top tier passing offenses, should be noted, but they've got some bodies out there, but they're looking for game changers and they're hoping Chin and Gilmore can anchor that group while they kind of turn. Right now they need more help at the other positions. They've had some serious injuries at some of those spots. So we'll see what happens in there.
If Tom Brady has time to throw, even without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, this could still be a pretty big game for him throwing the ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He is getting the time to throw.
No question.
Offensive line has got to man up and handle that Carolina front 4 and their aggressive blitz package.
I think people just don't again, you'll hear me rant and rave about this a lot. I don't think people understand how Brady works that much. It's crazy because he's played as long as he has, but or at least people don't want to understand maybe, but people will say, Brady doesn't trust this person or Brady doesn't this or so. I just think Brady's going to throw to who's open on a concept, period. And if nobody's open, he'll throw to the best option. It just doesn't matter who you are really. If you're in that role, he expects you to step up. He's not somebody who Ben Roethlisberger would 100% make guys prove it before he threw the ball. I saw it for years and years. He wanted guys to prove it in practice before, and he would just hoard targets to AB. But Brady's just never really been that guy.
He'll
throw it to you a bunch no matter what. Now, if you're good, you're obviously going to be open more and going to be more of a primary option.
I agree. And a prime example of that was Jalen Darden.
Darden, Brate, he throws the one-on-one to Darden because that's the right place to go with the ball in the play.
Exactly. And now where the lack of trust might come in is not in game. John. It comes in during the week in those quarterback meetings where he tells Byron Leftwich, make sure that in this situation, these are the guys I want to throw the ball to, right? And so then it's up to Leftwich and the coaches to match the down and distance with the play call, with the personnel grouping, so Brady can have more of those guys he trusts on the field. But listen, it came down to just attrition on Sunday night because the Bucs just ran it. They just ran out of wide receivers, and they were scraping the bottom of the barrel running back. They didn't have Giovanni Bernard. They didn't have Leonard Fournette in the second half outside of a couple carries in the third down.
It's kind of hilariously under-discussed. I mean, they literally had Darden, who was inactive for a good bit of the year and hadn't played wide receiver hardly at all, and Scotty Miller, who's barely played this year and was a healthy scratch last week. Those guys were playing like every snap. Like, that's just like, why are we not talking about that more? Like, you think they lose that game if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin play the whole game? No, they might win 7-6, or they probably won't have that 9-point situation, but they might win 10-9, whatever, if you want to go there. Like, but they're not losing the game with those guys. Like, so anyway, that enough said, but I think those guys are probably like if they're able to get some talent back in this scheme, that's a big deal, for this game. And obviously Carolina's a good defense, but I'll keep going back to it. Like, they aren't as good a defense as the Saints, period. Right. And there's just
that's a fact.
No way that you can let this offense off the mat. You can't. Like, they're trying to do this hybrid thing at quarterback. You know what's going through those quarterbacks' head here and that? Like, Cam Newton, as long as he's played, you think Sam Darnold, this dude, he threw like 11 picks in 4 games or whatever.
He's not happy with that news, right?
I mean, even if he's like, it's going to throw off his rhythm. It's just
what I'm saying. Yeah, it's going to affect it.
Yeah. Right? There's just no way. Darnold,
it's like, Sam's like, well, I'm the starting quarterback. I'm healthy now. So why am I not starting? Why am I not playing? So,
right. And here's the other thing. The Panthers are 29th in passing yards per game, 28th in yards per game as an offense, and 25th in points per game. The only thing they've done well statistically is run the ball. But even that is just largely because of Cam on designed runs. So if you're taking Cam off the field for a lot of plays, now I don't know what they do well other than turn it over. So, and you can't let them off the mat because they do have good receivers, but right now everything's dysfunctional about the offense. They changed coordinators. They're on the mat right now. Like, this is not the group that it was, even what the numbers say that it was. This is a worse group than that right now. You've got to bury them, and you've got to win this game if you're the Bucs defense, I think. Lots of splash plays should be coming.
I agree. The Buccaneers as a whole should be pissed off for 2 reasons. Number one, because of the fact that they lost in embarrassing fashion to the Saints on Sunday night in their own place on Sunday Night Football again. Number 2, because they got to wake up and board a plane on Christmas morning and fly to Carolina and do a walkthrough on Christmas and then play the Panthers. Now, some teams that I've covered, some Buccaneer teams in that situation, they don't want to be there, and it shows, right? They don't want to fly on Christmas. They don't want to play on the day after Christmas, and it shows. So you can take that approach of like, I don't want to be here, or you can take the approach of, I'm pissed off to be here, and I'm going to take it out in the Panthers, right? Because the Bucs didn't make the schedule. It's the NFL schedule. It's just the way it fell. But you don't get to spend Christmas at home with your kids. You got to do Christmas like Christmas Eve or whatever. And it just messes things up. So take the anger, the frustration, the wife yelling at you. Well, when are we going to do Christmas? When is your flight leave? Can we get up at 6 a.m. and do Christmas? Take the anger out on the Panthers and not be disinterested, not be unaffected. Get out there and make amends for Sunday night, and then, give yourself your own present by winning some hats and T-shirts in Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. And
speaking
one of the places
presents,
tell them about the presents.
Listen,
just in time if you're late for your shopping.
Yes, if you're looking for a stocking stuffer, boy, have I got an offer for you. You've probably heard about this fine product we call Manscaped, right? It's an awesome product that John and I and Matt and JC and everybody at the Pewter Report staff uses. And it's not just, one product. It's not just this Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 that's got the LED lights and the travel lock.
Waterproof,
all of that good stuff. No, it's everything, John. And you get everything inside the Performance 4.0 package. 2022 is nearly here. And the last thing you want to be is the guy with your pubes getting in the way of making 2022 your best year yet. 2021 might have sucked. And that's why Manscaped is making a splash and upping your grooming game. The signature Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take down every pube in your path. Manscaped has got the engineering you need for the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredible, comfortable grooming experience. This is a 4th-generation trimmer featuring cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. And as John said, it's waterproofed. So it's not just this. It's also the Weed Whacker. This is the ear, nose, and hair trimmer. I use this, and it's phenomenal. This alone is worth you making a purchase at Manscaped. And when you do, make sure you use the promo code PEWTER20 and save 20% off plus free shipping. So if you don't get what you want for Christmas this year, give yourself the gift of Manscaped the day after. Order at manscaped.com. Use promo code PEWTER20, and they're going to send you both of these in the performance package along with the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver. These are great. They'll make your balls feel wonderful. And you also get the boxer briefs, which I'm wearing and I can't show you right now, and the Shed. This is the high-quality travel bag you get to put all of your Manscaped goodies in. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, John, we're also giving away, and we've had a lot of people take advantage of this. We still have some of these awesome PewterReport.com t-shirts left. We have them in white. We also have them in black, and we have them in our gray pewter color. These are awesome. And I'll send you one of these for free. All you have to do is buy a Manscaped product and save 20% off by using promo code PEWTER20. You get free shipping. And once you get the email receipt, forward that to me at sr@pewterreport.com, sr@pewterreport.com, and then let me know what color you want, white, black, or gray, and what size you need, and we'll ship that to you. The great thing is that email that I'm going to get from you has got your address, which I need. It does not have your financial information, which I don't need, don't want. So make this a way to kick off 2022, way to end the holiday season with a Manscaped purchase, either for yourself or as a last-minute gift for one of your bros, one of your male relatives, college roommate, whoever you want to send it to, whoever you think has pubes that are out of control. Give them the gift of Manscaped.
Couldn't send us into the holidays. Just finish that ad read off. No, you're just going to go right for it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Mitch wants to know about the playoff seedings. So let's talk about the playoff seedings real quick here. We'll go a little bit long, I know, but we'll wrap up here in a second. But the Bucs obviously playoff seedings, Greg Allman does a ton of it on Twitter. If you want to, him to give you every single tiebreaker. I try not to get there's just so many scenarios even right now. I think I read there's like 1 trillion scenarios. It just, to me, it's just kind of a waste time to go over it. I will just say this right now, according to the percentages, the Bucs are the most likely number 2 seed. Packers are the most likely number 1 seed. Bucs are the most likely number 2 seed. If they win out, they get the 2 seed. I think no matter what, because I think, I'm trying to think how it worked with the Rams, but I'm pretty sure if they went out, they get the 2 seed. But either way, the Bucs, if they're the most likely 2 seed right now in the NFC by a good margin, they have to win out. Obviously, if they lose, that's going to change. Right. But they're favored to win in all the rest of their games. So as long as they do that,
so much can change, John, in terms of who they're going to play. I mean, there's been one team with 3 games left, one team in the NFC that has clinched the playoff spot. I mean, the Bucs haven't even clinched the playoff spot yet.
Right. And obviously that's going to happen. It would take an act of God for them not to clinch the playoff spot. But
it's just the Packers right now.
That's it. Exactly. So right now, probably the 2 seed. They could be the 3 seed as well. I think it's less likely to be the 4 seed, but that could happen too. It depends. I mean, some of these teams could win out. The Rams could still win the NFC West. There's a lot of scenarios. The Cardinals don't have an easy schedule. They have the Colts and they have Dallas the next 2 weeks, and they have Seattle. I mean, that's all the NFC West games are tough. So there's a lot of tough games left. It's hard to say much more other than there'll be a top
I would imagine this week the Cowboys and the Bucs clinch playoff seeds, and I think the Bucs clinch the NFC South this week with the win over Carolina. So I think the Cowboys probably do the same thing. I'm not sure about the East standings, but I think they at least qualify for the playoffs with a win, and other things might have to happen. I'm just not sure. I don't follow the Cowboys. I'm not sure, but I think when it's all said and done, at least 3 teams this week will be in the playoffs: Packers, Bucs, and Cowboys, assuming the Cowboys win and assuming the Bucs win.
Right, exactly. So they've got to clinch and they've got to get in. We'll give our predictions. We'll just give our predictions on Friday when people read the preview and predictions article that goes out. You'll hear our predictions then, rather than us giving them on the show. We want to see how these injuries play out, and COVID at the way that it's going right now. We're just going to wait and see what happens at the end of the week with these teams. So we'll give you that update. But first, I got to let you know, our friends at Underdog Fantasy, there's an opportunity for you during some of these games that are on over the holidays to get yourself some money. You can double your first deposit with the promo code Pewter at Underdog Fantasy. You can do player prop bets over under on player stat lines. I'm doing some over the holiday season. I can promise you that. One big a couple nights ago. And so going to do it again. NBA games are coming up if you're into that on Christmas Day. That's going to be fun. You got football games too going down. And so you can get in on those as well. Obviously, there's player prop bets over unders on those. And you can also get into, you can get your parlays going, get your pick 5 going. You can win 20 times the amount of money you put in. There's tournaments, there's best ball leagues to get into. And it's a very easy to use site. The format and the layout is unbelievable as well.
That's great.
Yes, get the app too. The Underdog Fantasy app. Put the promo code Pewter, PEWTER in, double your first deposit. Put in $50. You get $50. I think it's up to $100 they double your first deposit. So make sure you're taking advantage of that Pewter or that promo code Pewter and doubling your first deposit with Underdog Fantasy. All right, Scott, we're going to be off. No pods tomorrow, and then Friday, Saturday. Enjoy the Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for subscribing to Pewter Report TV. We greatly appreciate that. It helps our algorithm numbers out tremendously. Thank you all for following us on Twitter at Pewter Report, on Instagram at Pewter Report, and on Facebook at Pewter Report. Right. And also for subscribing to Pewter Report TV on YouTube. We greatly appreciate all the support. Want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday season. And as John said, we'll be back on Sunday for the Pewter pregame show at noon, because we have a 1 o'clock kickoff in Carolina on the day after Christmas.
Yep, it's going to be a lot of fun. Paul Atwell and I will be with you through that game. We'll break into play all of it as we go through the Bucs Panthers game on at 1, and then we'll obviously have the pregame starting at noon as well. Going to be a lot of fun. We got 3 more regular season ones left, and then we'll check in on the playoffs when it's time to start talking about them. But right now, all focus is on Carolina for us and for the Bucs. So until that Sunday show, obviously keep it locked to PewterReport.com. But until then, keep it locked in right here, and we appreciate everybody jumping in for one more edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.